is that they're not trying to like survive. They're actually trying to like do things before they die, like because they know they're going to die by this apocalypse regardless. Welcome to episode 51 of the Amb Ant Podcast. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Amber.
And we are back to talk about Zom100, Zombie ni naru made ni shitai 100 no koto.
100?
Otherwise known as Zom100, Bucket List of the Dead.
Zombie ni naru made ni shitai 100のこと. I think it's this.
Oh. I mean, that sounds pretty accurate.
I mean, it makes sense. Yeah. Before becoming a zombie, I want to do, 100 things I want to do.
Right.
100.
Please subscribe to the channel for the YouTube algorithm.
I was just going to grade myself as 100 points for translating, but thank you for cutting me off. Let's continue.
Oh, yes. Of course. What happens in Zom100?
Oh my god. Why do we always start with a really awkward synopsis and then we try to spoil people as much as we can? But yes,
spoilers up ahead, by the way.
The thing is, we completely missed the hype for Zom100, which is fine.
We missed the what? The hype?
Yeah.
Did we miss the hype?
Yeah, Zom100 was super hype when the first episode dropped, I think. At least in China, it's everyone was saying oh, this is what a movie-like anime looks like. Because basically everyone was criticizing Chainsaw Man back when that was happening. And then the director came out and said oh yeah, the vibe is super off. Not because I made a mistake, it's because I want to make but Chainsaw Man a movie-like anime, and everyone's no, you're just being really pretentious. But then people saw the first episode for Zom100 and said that's a perfect kind of, even though it's only 20 something minutes, but then it was super exciting, right. And the direction, the action, even just as a, how should I put it, just the rising action, whatever, the plot is a very complete story, and then everyone was praising it, so it came out with a bang. But now I don't know if it's that popular.
Right. I mean, the score on my anime list reads currently 7.63 out of
that's the manga
10, so
that's the manga.
Oh, this is manga?
Yeah.
Am I on the wrong thing?
You're on the wrong page. I saw that as well. And then
yeah, you're right.
I've never read the manga. I know that the author is the person who did Alice in Borderland, but I've heard a lot of things about the manga. I actually watched a few videos spoiling it. But yeah, that's a different story. And then I understand the controversy and why the sudden points dropped for it. But we'll see how things turn out in the end.
It is 8.15, which is actually very high. So
it is pretty high, cool. But again, I'm just thinking about popularity, not about quality at the moment, because right now I believe Jujutsu Kaisen, the second season, I want to say, it just hit the Shibuya incident, and then I feel so much hype is on that. And also I know that there's a lot of hype for Bleach, the second part of the last season, which apparently I think they're making 4 parts. I think it's bonkers, but it's okay. But yeah, I feel people should watch Zom100 more, because honestly it's it's one of, oh god, I shouldn't say it. I was gonna say it's one of the better ones in the recent years, but it probably is true. Yeah.
I see. Yes. I mean, I felt like Zom100 has a little bit of everything. It has a little bit of the zombie apocalypse type theme, very cool setting, and then it has really cool effects, animations, color schemes, and then it has some deep moments as well, where it just kind of explores stuff like Japanese working culture, life and death, what it means to like live a fulfilled life, sort of, and then just a lot of more philosophical kind of, I mean, it might be just like kind of pseudo philosophical, since I don't know if they really explore, like they talk about it, but it just kind of shows it rather than like explains it.
I don't think it's that philosophical, but I do agree that okay, there are certain things I agree and certain things I disagree with the statement that you just made.
Sure.
First of all, about like Japanese working culture, you specifically like limited it to a specific like country context.
Yeah,
which
they're in Japan.
Yes, that is true, but according to like the reviews I've seen, a lot of people from different cultural backgrounds can resonate with that feeling of just being like a cog in a machine, even though like the like buraku kigyo, like black companies or like exploitative companies, I think they translate that as, is a very like Japanese thing. But then it's also kind of true that like globally there is that kind of trend that a lot of companies are kind of just like working people, not to death necessarily, but like working people and kind of like not taking care of them as like a complete human being and individual. So then, as much as I do agree that like maybe Japan has a more extreme because there is like the overworked death and whatnot in Japan,
right. I was
karoshi, and also just like in Asia in general because it's really competitive right now. But
I was kind of like, I've never heard of that kind of thing before. I mean, before we watched this, and then you kind of explained it to me, like that, where people actually die from overwork in Japan,
and also in China,
and it's like
also
a thing.
in China. But then it's a very big thing in Japan.
I do not like. So we're in the I'm in the U.S. And you're currently in China,
Asias. And I was
in the Asias,
Japan,
Japan, China. Right, exactly. So over here, there's, I mean, at least I haven't heard of death by overwork. I don't think that happens here. I mean, I can be wrong. If you actually know people who die in the US or Canada of like overwork, then, let me know. But I don't think that people over here really do that. Okay. Well, I mean, like, it's like, I just haven't heard of that before over here. So I think it's a kind of Asian thing, maybe. And then their work culture over there is quite extreme. I think by global standards too. Potentially, like leading global standards in terms of like how tough it is over there. But yeah. Yeah.
But again, I think that even though that is true, like I still feel like the feeling of being overworked and not being seen as an individual is something that a lot of people can resonate with, even though not to the same extent, like obviously not.
Right.
And then also about how you said that like this kind of tackles questions about death. I don't know if it does that well, because which I kind of like, because like in this there's like a certain like whimsical kind of attitude towards like everything that the main character exhibits. It's kind of like he just kind of lives life however he wants, and then he can like forget about things the next day. It's like the flight attendant, like he kind of had a crush on her, but I don't really know if she probably didn't reciprocate. I think like she said that she had a boyfriend or something. But anyways, like it was very dramatic how she died, but then like the next episode is kind of like, okay, we move on kind of thing, which is
they just kind of moved on from that situation. I saw.
So then I feel like it doesn't really tackle questions about life and death like as much as like a lot of other things do it in a more realistic way. But then I really enjoy this because of how we don't dwell on things like that. it is a very like absurdist kind of like atmosphere that we just like, oh, we just keep on going, and then it's super optimistic even though everyone is dying around the main character. But it doesn't really matter because the main goal here is it's like optimistic but then also very pessimistic, because it's like, before I become a zombie, right? It's like zombie ni naru made. It's like he kind of accepted his fate of becoming a zombie already when he's making that statement, when he's making that list of 100 things he wants to do. But yeah, it's like, again, he's just kind of like going at it because there's like nothing to lose.
Right. I think I kind of it makes me think of like, if nothing, like, it's essentially like, if your fate is already kind of sealed, like if it's already like you're going to just die like by becoming a zombie, or like you're gonna die like pretty soon, then I guess you can kind of let go of a lot of things because it just doesn't really matter anymore. So it's like, so you might as well like just make the most of it, or like do whatever you want because it doesn't matter anyway. So then I felt like that was kind of strangely philosophical, because it's like, if you think about it, that's kind of how things are currently too, whereas like you're probably like you will die like at some point, and then like due to that, like nobody will remember you, you know, like after maybe like a year or so, or like even a few weeks, like people just won't think about you anymore, and then everyone will just kind of move on. And then I think it's kind of accurate actually, where they just kind of moved on like pretty quickly from all these like kind of death incidents, because you know, that's kind of what ends up happening.
As much as I think that yeah, like it is kind of like a very extreme metaphor of like, oh, how we live life, not just today, but like how people live life, like with the basically predestined. Like, you're most likely like going to die anyway, so then like
it's
you
like
said most likely rather than
most
like
likely. Okay,
100%.
look, AI is a thing now, and apparently, you know, people are trying to figure out how you can upload brains into computers and stuff, and if you can do that, then I don't know if you can die.
That I
then
wrote, like, you know.
Okay, but they're trying to like, you know, figure out how you can upload your brain into like a computer, right? Because like you can kind of figure it out.
And then I let you read it. But anyway.
You know, it just like high tech stuff like that, like currently. So if that is figured out, then you don't really die.
No. Okay, like
But
that's a different. Like I want to say a lot of things about that. I disagree, but then also I don't think that I want to like go in that direction. I will talk to you about this later. Or maybe not. I don't think we actually care that much about this. But anyways, back to the story. As much as I think like but also it is in a different kind of context, in the sense that's like, oh, death is very imminent rather than like, oh, we might die some year in many decades. We don't really know. Maybe we will have an accident, but then it's like, yeah, so then it's like, it is still like an apocalyptic story, but yeah, like it's set in
yeah, I would say that like it feels like the main character is like enlightened, and everybody else is kind of like still struggling on by and like really working like towards trying to survive. Of course, he has like the main character kind of thing where he's like invincible, so there's that as well. There's like plot armor all around since he can like just do anything. But you know, like barring that, it's like it seems like he's like more enlightened than the other people. Like despite, I mean, there's some parts where I guess when they run into his like previous boss, he just like loses it and he becomes like unenlightened for a little bit. He like his trauma like shows up from like his job. But yeah, it's like for the most part, it seems like he's like special in that way.
Which
like he isn't, like he isn't like magically stronger or anything like that. But he just like is free to like make weird decisions.
I was
So
gonna say, like, he became Buddha. He hasn't reached nirvana. It's like, he's so enlightened that he has, like, I don't know, exceeded human capabilities. Which I think, like, he is pretty, like, extra strong. But, yeah, I was actually thinking about, first of all, as someone who just, I guess, like, don't have many things to do, I think about, like, apocalyptic / like, post-apocalyptic situations, like, what am I supposed to do, kind of? And as much as, like...
really?
I do think about it a lot, do you not? Maybe I'm just bored.
I do not. I do not. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that. It's like before, you know how I was writing, like, you know, Zombie Man? I was writing like that. Yeah. It was like, back then, I was thinking a lot about that as well. Where I was like, kind of the post-apocalyptic kind of scenarios, which is why, like, I got really into that. Mm-hmm. So, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. But, again, before this, I've never watched anything zombie. Like, I'm not into the idea of zombies or, like, apocalypse, like, content. As much as, like, same. I like thinking about it, I don't like watching it. I'm not a gore person and everything, so then, like, I kind of really appreciate, like, the stylistic choices of making it super colorful rather than, like, disgusting.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I would not really enjoy, like, super gruesome or disgusting or, like, like, you know, like, this is some nasty, like, zombie stuff, right?
Yeah, but in a way that's more morbid because it's kind of turning away from the fact that people are dying. Like, it's actually a gruesome scene that we're artistically portraying it as kind of like, oh, fun and just exciting to look at. But I, again, really enjoy it. I don't know. There's just something about it that has, like, manic energy that I'm just like, it's so much more just, like, crazy than just other, like, zombie things that I, like, currently can, like, conjure up in my mind, like, in popular culture, like Walking Dead or whatnot. It's like, it's just like, oh, brown, like, everyone's dirty, and then, like, red, blood, things like that.
Right. Yeah, like, everyone's dirty, like, you know, they're like all betraying each other and stuff like that, and they're like turning into zombies here and there. It's like they're starting out with a group, they're meeting other groups and stuff like that. It's like a survival type, like we gotta survive somehow, Carl, you know.
Yeah, this isn't about survival. This really isn't about survival. It's actually just like, you can just see this as a huge, like, gigantic metaphor about just, like, we gotta all live life like this. Like, we have to realize that, like, we're all gonna die at some point, and then just actually think about what you actually want to do and then, like, commit to it. But then it's just, like, done in this way that is very, I guess, like, entertaining and somewhat morbid, which is, again, pretty fun to look at.
Yeah, because, like, the whole thing, like, I think that separates the, like the idea that separates things from, like, other like, say, what is it, zombie movies or zombie, like, content out there, like apocalypse content, is that they're not trying to, like, survive. They're actually trying to, like, do things before they die, like, because they know they're going to die by this apocalypse, regardless of, like, how, like, maybe they survive, like, a couple days longer, or, like, maybe even a year longer, but they're probably just gonna die, most likely. So then it's just like they already know, and, like, essentially it's, like, pretty nice that, like, it's like they've already skipped to the end, kind of. Whereas, like, a lot of the time,
a lot of things, they don't even reach this, like, quote unquote end.
They don't even reach they don't even reach this point where they, like, realize that, oh yeah, we're actually like doomed, you know, like, like, they're doomed regardless. So,
but at the same time, it's like, there is that one thing about, like, oh, some people are trying to combat this virus because, like, the girl Shizuka was saying how, like, this is a virus. It's not just, like, some miracle, like, magical thing. Not miracle, sorry, magical thing. And then, like, there is a possibility that they can make a vaccine. But then I like how we're not focusing on that, because, like, a lot of stories, it's like survival plus, like, we need to fix this kind of. And
That's
then
right.
this is
We
like,
gotta fix it. We gotta fight it to like we can make a difference. We can solve this entire like apocalypse ourselves or something. We can do it, guys.
And nor are
and
they
then
fighting
Akira,
zombies. They're not.
Yeah,
like,
they're not.
Yeah, like as much as like there are like some fights, it's just like defense. It's like, oh, when they attack, we fight them, rather than like, oh, let's like make a combat team. Like, how are we supposed to just like win against the zombies? Like humans will survive. No, it's not like that. Which
and then
yeah.
I mean, I remember there's this one like there's this I think episode 7. You got Truck Stop of the Dead. Like, there's actually like this company now, like where people are having their own like jobs and stuff, like what they can do daily to like help the apocalypse, and then all the main focus is just on how bad the management is, and then like how manipulative like the new company is. So then
that's just the same.
So then
it's just a copy of how companies were. That's why it's an issue.
Right. So then essentially they like dissolve the company at the end, and then instead of like try to like what is it, fix it and like make things more competent, they're just like, nah, this sucks, and then like they're just dissolved, and then everybody just goes their own way. It's like very interesting. It's like very, very different from like how people normally handle zombie apocalypse, like, or even apocalypse like stories.
But again, like that just makes me feel like it's kind of like a social commentary about like how society, well, like you can say like, oh, in Japan or in a broader like context of like the current society, a lot of like companies and whatnot that are kind of top down in this way doesn't work. And then it's like, even if you were to mimic it and then recreate it, it's still not going to work in a different context kind of thing. But I don't want to think of this as like too much of a like targeted social commentary. But then I also like see that like when you were like talking about it, because I'm like, oh god, yeah, it is like it's just echoing.
Yeah, it's just like his trauma and stuff like that against like the company, like exploitative company, and then they just get into another exploitative situation here. It's like his old boss, like, you know, he could have killed his boss, but he didn't.
Oh, he should have.
So
that would be unnecessary.
Exactly. So
yeah.
Right, but he didn't. So then it's like there's like clear choices. So it's like, and the focus isn't on the action so much as it is about like kind of the mental, psychological like aspects of it. So it feels like almost like, I guess, a social commentary, but I mean,
we can
because it's not focused on the action,
like that,
because it's not.
But yeah, it's okay if we just leave it at that. But yeah,
right. It's kind of interesting.
Definitely. And like about the episode, you know, we had our small arguments about the subtitles that we watched, which again, like, because we're just pirating it, so obviously everyone has like probably like different sets of translations and whatnot, which is fine.
Totally.
But then it's like,
probably
for episode 7, Shizuka was like thinking about like, oh my god, this is just like how my dad treated me. And then like thinking about how he always like says things that end with like statements that end with like Bicky. But then like I was really triggered by how it was translated into like, oh, you need to do this in order to survive. You need to blah, blah, blah. But then I was like, oh, well, Bicky, usually when we translate it, it's like, oh, you should do this. You should do that. And then I feel like should is like works so much better than need in that context that I just want to reiterate. Because like in that whole episode, the whole thing is that people are going to tell you the thing that you should do, which is like how we as like human beings living in a quote unquote society, we're told like every day. It's like, oh, if you're a student, you should study. If you're like a company worker, you should do whatever. Like no one's gonna say like, oh, you need to. Sorry.
Right, and you're incentivized by like you know, money, or like you get a salary from a company, or you get grades as a student. You're incentivized to do these actions, so then it's like you should do them in order to earn these grades or earn the money. But it's like, yeah, I mean, this anime kind of calls that out.
Yeah. And then like I
It's
feel
like,
it's better to say should than need, because like need feels like a necessity, like a physical, like, oh, you have to do this, there's no other choice than to do that. But then like should makes you feel like there is leeway, so then when you do something you're like, oh, people said I should do this and I am choosing to do that. But then the whole story for episode 7 is that even though everyone is telling him he should do that, he's like actively choosing to do like, oh, but if I were to decide, I'm gonna do like something else instead. So then it's like if it's a necessity, it just sounds like absurd that he's choosing to do something else. But then if it's like a socially oppressed kind of like should, that people are just like pressuring him to do something rather than like saying that, oh, this is something that he has to do, then there's more like this kind of I guess like people I don't know, I want to say like kando, like, oh, you're moved to see that he is like standing up for himself and then like taking responsibility for his own decision and thoughts. And then like that girl was inspired by him, so then she kind of reciprocates and then like yells at him to like wake up and then stand up again against his old boss. But
yeah, I mean, I kind of didn't like that part, in that like he was just kind of, I don't know, he was a little, it was a little bit like a step backwards from like his whole thing about, I'm gonna do this whole 100 thing. It's like the previous episodes never happened or something. Like his trauma was so great that it like overrode everything else, even the zombie apocalypse. I don't know, so
yeah, I feel like we disagreed on that, because like you didn't like that. I remember like you're like just bothered by how he kind of like took steps back, or like, I don't know, regressed into his former state. But I kind of like that, to just call back to, yeah, that's still the same person. He still has that kind of indecisive like past within him. It's not that he just like completely changed and then he'll never look back again, which that's what I really disliked about watching like Mushoku Tensei. Like, even though I understand Mushoku Tensei, he still had trauma. Like, I feel like people talked about it and I understand it, but then so anyways, but I still like to see that people are fighting, consciously making the effort so then they can change. Because like me as an individual, I struggle with a lot of like mental just like things that like I set as like my own obstacles. I understand that. And then when I sometimes like win against these like stupid obstacles, like sometimes I still like have to regress backwards for a few days to like continue and then like march forward again. And I like to see that the main character is more relatable in that way, because he was so like physically invincible that makes him kind of difficult to relate to for, I think, a lot of the audience. So then when we see that his like mental falters, it's like this display of vulnerability that I really resonated with.
True. This is true. I mean, if yeah, I think he yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's not always like, you know, stocks go up situation where it's just like always going up. It's gonna go down. It's gonna go back up. It's gonna go down again. It's gonna go back up.
I mean,
Probably.
you playing League, so your level fluctuates too, no? Like, is it just like, oh, whatever level you're on, you're gonna stay in that level forever? No, right?
Right.
You have to calm the
go
fuck down.
You go up. You go down. You go up.
Exactly.
But you mainly go up.
Anyways, but you know what I mean? It's like having moments like that is very endearing, like to me and I believe some of the audience. And I also understand that you don't really appreciate moments like that because you're just like, okay, Anthony is like someone who just likes too much power fantasy shit, and I'm like, oh,
what the?
That's disgusting.
Okay, well, I am currently reading some like pretty much solo leveling stuff. This is called Return of the Disaster Class Hero. It's where an OP guy returns after 20 years to like stomp on every noob.
Yeah, so and I hate stories like that. I like a more realistic. Okay, how's this realistic? This isn't actually too realistic. This is not a good example. And then like, I guess like more nuanced, I would just say. Like, it's just nuanced. It's more nuanced than that. So yeah, like I like to just see some development and then some struggles, and then we work with what we have. We're human after all, and then we triumph. Like that is something I like to see. But yeah.
True. This is fair.
Yeah, it's like if you think about One Piece. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean One Piece. He's pretty much the best all the way through.
No, that's so not true. If you thought that was One Piece, you should reread One Piece, all like 1,000 chapters of it. Like the whole thing about like the Shibodi archipelago is that he's actually so weak, but then he never realized it until that point. And then as much as like that hurt me in the soul to read / watch back in the day, I feel like that was really necessary for him to be like even stronger like after the time skip.
I kind of like that part though.
Exactly.
Yay. So anyway, that one was good. One Piece is good stuff. What were we gonna? Oh yeah, so okay, so one thing about One Piece is that like I don't think like the thing is like as they travel like the seas, I don't know if it makes sense that like the first starter area everyone's like giga weak, but then like later on they get like so strong. But it's like just one sea, right? So that's like, or like it's two seas. So it's just like I don't understand why like it's just getting to a ridiculous extent now with like Kaido and all that. But then like when they first started out, even like insane characters like Shanks was like, you know,
he would lose
like there was no
to a sea king.
Right, something like that. Like it's just like the power scaling is a little weird, but it's okay.
First of all, this is not about One Piece, but second of all, I'll answer your question because I like One Piece. Well,
okay.
Honestly, realistically speaking, this series started in 1997, and then the whole system for Shonen Jump is that it can end at any point when you don't have enough popularity, right? So then, honestly, people do not think that far ahead when they start writing a story, and then you can't really, because honestly, like, how can you think that this will actually be going on for decades? So then it's kind of like the whole Dragon Ball, like, power scaling thing. It just became, like, too big. Like, now it's, like, in the universe, and then it's, like, in the, not multiverses, but, like, you know, parallel universes and whatnot. So then it's kind of just that you gotta keep on going, and then it has to be, like, exciting enough for the readers that are just, like, just going into it and still being like, oh my god, this is so exciting. So then, obviously, the power scaling is gonna be off. Because it's just it's just a reality that it is a serialization rather than like a work that can be well planned out, and then you can like edit the like beginning to kind of be coherent with however it is right now, and then you know you can't really just like balance things out. It's just it was what it was, and now it is something so completely different. Like Luffy is God now. It's like Goku is God. Just let it be.
Whoa. Major spoilers ahead for these two big animes.
As if people listen to our podcast.
I mean, we do get a couple hundred views or a couple thousand here and there.
Anyways.
What would you rate this this anime, by the way?
Oh god, I'll give it a... Yeah, I feel like it didn't really go into the things I dislike about it, right? I really dislike the girl. I don't like how she's like, I'm speaking in the English accent kind of thing. It's like, how does she say things? Oh, God. And then she always, like, has that, like, just kind of cool sound, which I just get bothered by. And then she's like, oh, she's from America. Let her be.
I see.
And also, they're just, like, certain things are too anime looking for me. But I also understand that that's completely my bias, just because, like...
So this anime is too anime looking for you.
Yeah, sometimes I just want, like, angsty-ass shit. Like, things that just look different just because I am, like, a unique little snowflake. And I want to watch things that make me feel in touch with my identity. Therefore, I would give it a 8 or 7.5. 7.5.
Oh, why did it become 0.5 lower?
Just because I like looked at the art again and I'm like, yeah, it's too anime. I would be a little embarrassed to go so high.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I want some more experimental things in the artistic department, please. S'il vous plaît.
Right. Yeah, I'll give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. Some good stuff. I think I like the concept. I like how they do certain things. It kept my attention. It kept my attention, at least. So there's that. Sometimes like my attention wanders when we watch certain things. So then, or like we start like skipping certain parts, or like fast forwarding. Like playing 2x speed or something like that.
And if anyone watches One Piece, they understand why it's necessary.
Yeah. So essentially, at least it kept my attention the entire way through. So.
Yeah, but then again, I just want to say, because we were watching this like concurrently with One Piece, and there's a very big difference with how anime is produced now, which is in seasons. So then you can actually like, plan things out, produce at least like more than half of it before you start airing things. But then like One Piece, the whole like issue about One Piece, and also like back in the day, a lot of animes with a lot of filler episodes, is that it's going on as the manga goes on. Sometimes it's too fast, sometimes it's too slow. And then also sometimes you just don't have money at that point. So then it's not like a planned project with a start and end date. And like, for example, for Zom100, it's like planned to have 12 episodes for this first season. And then like they would know how much content they put in that like 12 episodes. So then, yes, it would be more compacted, compact, and then yes, it will just feel like a more like snappy, coherent story. But
that sounds right.
Devil's advocate for just older anime and how it's produced. But yeah,
that's fair. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I was gonna say like the company I never saw before, but also I just searched it up. It also did make a few things. Okay, so basically I don't think that it was producing anime before Zom100 like by itself. It was just doing like key animation and production assistance with like other things like Summertime Rendering, Spy Classroom. I don't know what that is. But
Summertime Rendering was crazy.
Yeah, I like it, but then I also hear that whatever, like the manga is so much better, whatever. But then Zom100 is the first like 100% produced by them kind of thing, and then the quality is so high. I'm kind of like excited to see what they will do in the future. Indeed.
Oh yes, very good.
Easy this. That is my ending speech.
Oh yes, of course. What does that mean?
Huh? What? Ijo?
Ijo des.
Yeah. Ijo des. It's like the above. It's like it's just the ending phrase that you say at the end of something, an expression.
Oh, it's like Finn.
Sure.
Nice.
Yeah, like it's like the above is my statement. Finn.
Oh.
Sure.
Yes. Finn.
Goodbye.
All right. Goodbye, guys. We'll see you guys next time.
As if there will be a next time. There won't be no next time.
Whoa.
Anyways, bye.
Eminem, let's go. See you guys.